Good evening. Welcome to Live from Rabs, from inside Rabs Country Lanes. We are here at a special time. It's nighttime. It's almost dark, at least for us.
It's dusk. It's dusk.
It's
right
dusk.
now.
There you
It's
go.
dusk.
Yes. It's dusk. Well, thank you for tuning in. Maybe you're eating your dinner. Poured yourself a nice glass of wine,
When I get home,
a martini, a
A
beer,
glass
whatever,
of beer.
whatever it might be.
Yeah.
So we appreciate you joining us this evening. We've been doing this every day at 2 o'clock, and we hope that you've enjoyed everything and all about what we're doing here.
Yep.
We've got a special show tonight. We brought back the one and only
Uh-oh.
Emergency.
Emergency.
Joe Cal is joining us today.
We had a little
Half of
emergency
the Joe Cal, Joe Bruno show.
You got half again, folks.
We got half. And half is plenty.
Half is
Half
good
is
enough.
plenty.
Half's better than none.
We are looking forward to a great show. What do you got, Frank?
I went to lower the volume,
And you sent out an alarm?
I hit the SOS on the iPhone. And
yeah.
911 was getting called. Your emergency
The
contact.
hospital is right down the block.
That was
Let's keep
fun.
them there. Keep them there.
Yes, Chrissy Kent noticed what you already apologized for, and she just said Yankees fan ?
Yes. Not apologizing, but being you and Naz had your Met gear on the other day, I noticed that. I had to wear some of the Yankee stuff and show my Yankee pride, but I'm a baseball fan. I'm not one of those type of Yankee fans. I'm a baseball fan.
We don't hold it against you. We
Thank
love you, Joe.
We love you in spite of.
Thank you.
your
I appreciate
fandom.
it.
If we cared, we wouldn't welcome you back.
This is true. So thank you. Thank you.
Also joining us today is Ray
There he
Laursen.
is. The man, the myth, the legend, right there. There he is. Ray is in the house.
Director
As he
Ray.
has been for the last 5
Right,
days.
he's usually off camera as director, but today he's decided to join us on camera.
He gets the on-camera appearance fee. We're not going to disclose how much. But that's it.
He's going to get double what Frankie and I
Yeah, there you go. Yep. There you go.
Zip.
get.
Zilch. Zip. No. Doors are closed, right? There's no customers. There's no
No,
paycheck.
that's it.
There's
No.
nothing happening.
Nothing
No.
happening
There's
here.
nothing. No, let's check. There's nothing. No.
Sadly, there's nothing.
Yeah, sadly.
It would be
Very
Sunday
sadly.
night, and
Yeah.
Rob Butler and his crew, Donna Zajac,
Donna
Roy Lee,
Zajac would be balling
would
right
just
now.
be
Yeah.
getting ready to would just be bowling and practicing. He moved his weekly his week bowler of the week to bowler of the day. So each
Very nice.
day he's highlighting a new bowler.
Yeah.
He's simulating the league at home, almost like when he plays
Baseball.
Yeah, right. His Stratomatic baseball or whatever he's.
I'm gonna have to ask him his what he uses to decide who gets the bowler of the day. Maybe I would imagine he's got it mapped out. Rob, you're gonna have to tell us. I know he's watching.
He's got
You're gonna
time
have-
on his
you're gonna
hands.
have-
Knowing
You're gonna have to
Rob,
yeah.
he's got a very,
Oh, yeah.
very
Yeah.
clear-cut system of how he does it.
Oh yeah, Rob is quite unique.
Hey, so a couple of things. So first, we just a shout out and say thank you to Chris Sobel from Fox 5 News, executive producer. He reached out and just thanks for the interview, the opportunity to share our story last night, which aired at 6 o'clock, 10 o'clock,
Yes.
10:30.
Yes, it aired several times on that other network that I can't talk about.
It wasn't only our story. They shared the story of Techie Geek 2, who's also doing a little
Chat.
chat. That's exactly
yeah.
what you would call
You
that.
want to talk about the show about nothing?
Yeah.
It's a
Mike
show
and those
about
guys,
nothing.
Moss, Partners in Sound, and they,
Yeah.
I love it. They're pretty funny. And then they had the late night version.
Yes.
I happened to catch the other night at midnight. They were still on there talking about absolutely nothing, and it turned into arguing with each other.
Yeah.
The cool thing, you know what, they wanted to highlight businesses who are still communicating and out there talking with folks. So thanks, Chris. Thanks, Fox 5. That was great. We got some great messages from those that had seen it too.
And
So,
sharing some good news too. Thank you.
Yeah, that
Fox.
was a good
We
job.
appreciate that.
That was a good job.
we certainly need that when you want to tune out the news.
Yeah, you need some good
each day.
You need a little bit of goodness.
Hey, we don't want you to forget. We still want you to share your videos of you being creative and bowling at home. So be sure to show us how you hashtag bowl from home. We showed you a video of our buddy Joe with his bowling pins out in his yard. We've seen a few more. Keep sending those we're gonna send a carpet bowling lane kit to someone's house to have some other bowling activity in your house. So
you will actually have although it'll be carpet, it'll be a bowling lane with pins and a bowling ball. So it'll be a little bit better than whatever you might be coming up with right now.
You have to go on the concrete.
Water bottles and toilet paper rolls, whatever it might be. Yeah. So be sure to share those, send them along, post them on our page, and hashtag Bowl from Home. I also have to say thank you to those that keep up donating to our Feed Our Heroes campaign. Yes. So thank you to those who are watching.
That's a great thing.
We're going to drop the link in here again. If you're able, of course, we'd love for you to participate and support. You have asked, which is why we started the campaign and raising some money, but we're sending food out to those frontline heroes out in the hospitals, the precincts, the nursing homes. Yep. So if there's anybody that you think of that we haven't reached or we'd like to reach, let us know.
Let us know.
If you wanted to contribute to the campaign, well over $1,200 was raised in a couple days.
That's great.
Just to send some food to those folks. So thank you to everyone for doing that. We certainly appreciate it.
Keep up the good work, everybody. Keep up the good work.
So we've got a great special guest with us today.
Yes, we do.
The one and only Jason Belmonte. Top bowler in the world.
There he is.
You want to name it? He's got every title there is. Super Slam hero. So Jay, thank you so much for joining us tonight for us. Good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning. It is Monday here, the 30th. So we are a little bit in front of you. I can tell you that the 29th was it was a pretty boring day, like the last week has been. But hopefully your 30th is more entertaining than mine.
We'll hope so, Jay. We're gonna try.
Ours is almost over. All I know is that I got to look forward to a glass of wine or several, and whatever we're watching on Netflix tonight. So after this, we were certainly looking forward. We look forward to this every day. Yeah. We were certainly looking forward to having you join us, and we really do appreciate you. Welcome to Rab's Country Lanes, all across from the other side of the globe.
No, thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to our chat.
So we now closed. This is day 13. I'm losing track of days. I think it's like day 13.
It's almost 2 weeks.
What's happening down there? Your bowling center open. When did this truly hit home?
Yeah. So Kimberly and the kids, my wife and my kids, we were in the US 8 days ago now, and we had scheduled and planned to enjoy an entire World Series together, and then a few days there afterwards before the Masters was planned, and we were having a bit of a family holiday. So after the World Championship, obviously, this virus started to spread globally, and my government sent out a warning to all nationalists around the world that it's time to come home because the borders are about to close. So we had to change our flights. We got home, like I said, about 8 or 9 days ago now, and upon arrival, we had to sign a government form that stipulated that we would self-isolate for 14 days. No contact with anyone, couldn't go anywhere. Otherwise, large fines were and have been handed out to those that aren't self-isolating. So this is where I have been for the last 8 or 9 days. It is starting to get a bit blurred. I don't know how many days it really is. But the good news is my government has this really interesting and informative app. So I can go to my phone and I can look at what the current status is. Currently we have 3,966 confirmed cases of COVID-19, and then you might not be able to see it. The quality is probably a little bit, I don't know if you can see that, but it shows you where all the cases are. It gives you a lot of information about what the government is doing next, what kind of resources they're sharing with everyone. So the best way that we try to survive this is stay informed. Do as the government is saying. Don't come into any contact. I can see you guys are practicing social distancing there, which is great. And at the end of the day, it's the right thing to do. It's going to cause havoc with businesses. My parents, unfortunately, due to government legislation, has now closed all of their bowling centers. We have 3. So it's been tough. But just like you guys, we're trying to find ways to keep our league bowlers and our social bowlers thinking about bowling, keep them engaged in bowling through social media. They're not quite as advanced as you guys as running your own show, but it's certainly been fun thinking of ways, how can we get people to bowl without actually coming to the bowling centre? So we think we've come up with some pretty cool ideas that we'll be launching to our community really soon, and I'll be a part of it, and hopefully we can keep bowlers bowling without bowling, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. We wish you luck with that.
Thank you.
We're trying, and we've been, as you saw, we've been encouraging them to do it at home, and we've got some. They're all over the internet.
Yeah.
Everybody being creative and doing it, which is cool. We're starting to all get stir crazy is what's happening. So
Definitely.
getting stir crazy and not being able to come out to your bowling center certainly does it.
Yeah, it's
So,
tough.
Jason, I'd like to ask you about your to go from one disaster to another. Your Two Hands Helping Australia fundraiser. That it looks like you were about $5,000 away from your goal of $150,000.
Yeah, we're getting very, very close. I know there are a couple of guys that are still to inject a couple of thousand each due to other commitments, and I think they're still running amazingly. They're still trying to add more to their fund to add to mine. So I would imagine within the next few weeks we'll actually reach the goal of 150,000 US dollars, which is a lot of Australian dollars. And I know there's something else. There's always something else that comes up that takes the attention away from the world. But the fires were devastating here in Oz. Whilst there aren't any fires right now causing havoc, the damage that they did will be, it'll be years and years before families are able to build their homes and to get what they lost, animal relief, all of those things. So I'm very proud that between the industry and my friends and people I just randomly bump into who have donated to the Two Hands Helping Australia Fund has really, I mean, like I said, 140 odd thousand with only a few thousand to go is a fantastic effort. I'm very proud of that.
Yeah, that's great.
That's amazing.
That really
That's
is.
amazing.
That is amazing. That is.
So what does the landscape look like now? So no fires that are wreaking havoc, but are there still some that are out there that's still causing some issues besides what we know what the aftermath certainly will become? But is there anything else happening that maybe we're not aware of?
I think, well, I haven't been able to go outside. So since arriving, I can say that what I've seen mostly from media is it's really all about COVID-19. There's very little media exposure right now about, the rebuilding phase. But as far as I am aware, there aren't any fires that are, literally going through towns, destroying them. I think we had a bit of rainfall while I was in the US, which obviously really, really helps. So the funds what I've already raised has been distributed to the 3 funds that I was working with, which was Wire's Animal Relief Fund, the Red Cross, and the Rural Fires Association. So that goes to help the animals, the families that have been infected, and obviously the firefighters on the front line. So all of that money has already gone, and we're just keep adding to it. And I'm hoping to get to the 150 that, I pledged a long, long time ago. Obviously, now the PBA tour has stopped. It's harder for me and my fellow PBA pros to donate to it because a lot of our donations were based off television appearances. So hopefully, the PBA tour will be back on air really, really soon, so we can obviously continue our living. But I can also selfishly raise that $150,000 for my country.
We'll be sure to drop the link here so everybody
Yes.
can check out with the campaign and contribute if they want to.
Thank you.
So you're locked up in the house. How are the kids holding up? What are the kids doing?
Yeah, the kids are actually pretty good. I mean, I have very creative children. So, being able to, go and play and kind of, we're allowed in our backyard. So, we do go outside a little bit. But our local school and our public school that the kids go to have been absolutely amazing. They've dropped off laptops with worksheets and schedules to follow to allow us to homeschool the kids, because we aren't really sure how long this will actually last. Right now, schools are open, and parents, they can choose to send their children to school. I believe a high percentage of families are not sending their children to school. I think it all comes down to, if you are two working parents and school was a place that, not only taught your children, but could kind of babysit while you went to work. So they're still allowing businesses that are open and families who have two workers still take their kids to school. But my kid's school has, I think, less than 100 kids go to the whole school, from little kids to grade 6 kids, and I believe less than 10 are at school. But the school is still open. Teachers are still doing their thing there. And they've just been dropping off all of the worksheets. So this morning we did PE in the garage with me. Kimberly's now working on some maths and English. And then after I finish talking with you, I'll no doubt go out and start handing out some detentions, because that's what I want to do. I want to send them to the naughty corner with a detention.
Did you put a hat on them in the naughty corner?
I already told them that I'm no longer dad when it's school time. I'm Mr. B, and when I'm angry, it's Mr. Belmonte. So it's been fun.
Yep. And how's that going for you?
Yeah, it's going good. If anything, it allows us, Kimberly and I, to entertain them and educate them through the curriculum that the school has already set. So one of the things Kimberly and I actually talked about while we were in the US was, hey, when we come home and we've got to self-isolate, the kids are supposed to go to school. So we might have to teach them. And I'm like, well, I don't know where they're at. I don't know what to teach them. I mean, do they want to know about RGs and differentials of volleyball? I can talk about there. So I said, there's a little bit of math involved. But like I said, Nashdale School has been amazing, handing us, just allowing us to keep up with where they're at, where the other kids are supposed to be at. And it certainly helps pass the time through the day as well.
Back to your trip here. So you were here bowling, and you had your family here. That doesn't really happen. What were the emotions going through you during that time, and having them here with you, certainly to celebrate?
It was pretty amazing, mate, to be honest. Kimberly has been in the crowd for one title that I had won, my very, very first title. She happened to be there. And the next, few titles have been on my own. So it's always been a phone call after the match, whether it be good or bad. You want your family there. You want them to console you when things didn't go to plan, and you want to celebrate with them when things do go to plan. So it was a very unique experience, though, having no one in the crowd. It was a very, very odd feeling. But knowing that, Kimberly and my 3 children were back there, it's the celebration there afterwards, just the cuddle and the kiss, and to be able to share it with them in that moment is something I'll never forget. It was something I never thought I'd have the opportunity to do. And I'm very, very grateful that the one tournament that they decided to come and watch happened to be a tournament I decided to bowl really well in.
That's pretty good. That doesn't happen very often.
That's great. You've become the dean of discipline in your home now, because you're playing the role of the principal besides playing the role of dad. That's tough to wear both of those hats, but if anyone could pull it off, I got a feeling you can. So
yeah, it can be a little confusing when I wouldn't say that I'm a strict teacher or a strict father. I'm probably quite the opposite. But you want to educate your kids, and you want them to follow this curriculum. So while the kids are kind of like slowly veering off into the distance, and you know, you got to kind of bring them back. And then school's finished, and now it's like, all right, kids, let's play. And it's like, well, you know, for like 7 hours today, you were telling me to focus on work, and now you want me to play. So it can be a little difficult to make sure that they know which hat I've got on at any one time.
That's pretty good.
So what does PE class look like then in the garage?
Yeah, well, my eldest daughter wanted me to change it up every day. She said, you know, I don't want to do the same thing over and over. So can we make it entertaining and exciting? So, you know, I've got bowling balls laying around here. So a lot of the exercises have to do with picking up bowling balls, like weights. We do boxing because I've got, you know, all the boxing gear here. I've got a lot of other kind of like ropes and stretch bands that we use. We have cross trainers. We've got all the stuff. And then we just kind of create it like stations. So between the 3 kids, we rotate the stations. And then drill sergeant Mr. Belmonte is just right. So it seems to have worked. They leave the class rather sweaty and tired, and I don't get that look of, you know, I can't believe you're doing this to me, Dad. It's kind of more of a, hey, thanks, Dad. That was a lot of fun. So we try to mix it up as much as we can.
That's good. That means you did your job. Job well done.
Yeah, I will tell you this right now. Massive shout out to all the school teachers around the world. It is not easy to keep kids focused, to also help them understand why they're getting things wrong because this is the hard part for me. I do this with bowlers too, and I don't mean it, and I always apologize after I do it. So, you know, there'll be a mathematical equation that I look at, and, you know, you can do it with your eyes closed. Or, well, first read it, then you can do it with your eyes closed. So, you know, when one of your kids is struggling with it, it can get quite frustrating because, well, we're adults. We're supposed to know what that, you know, multiplication equals really quickly. And I find it really difficult to put myself in their shoes. It's the same with bowling when I'm trying to teach a student, and I'm saying, all right, listen, let's change our axis rotation, you know, like 5 or 10 degrees. Let's just get our hand around it a little more to create a bit more angle. And I watch them do it. I'm like, no, that's kind of what we did before. We're going to change it up now. We're going to and then they bowl again. It's the same. I'm like, no. We're not doing that anymore. We're changing your release. And it can get quite frustrating because it's quite easy for me, but it can be difficult. So shout out to all the teachers who have a world of patience, you know, with our kids out there.
So on the theme, so every day we've been sharing a meme of the day, and we're going to share today's meme because it fits perfect. This was our meme of the day. Read it. Good.
You spelt neighbor wrong, by the way.
Mine, it's not ours.
It's not ours. We're sharing.
Right.
Neighbor is spelt with a U in Australia. So you guys need to come to Australia and get taught by our English teachers. All right. Saw my neighbor Tammy out this morning scraping the "My kid is a terrific student" sticker off her minivan. First week of homeschooling didn't go so well. I love it.
Perfect timing. If you figured that's something you could read it, you'll appreciate it. We segued into it perfectly.
Yeah, I saw another one. Let me see if I can find it really quickly. This was before school even started here at home. But did I keep it? I don't think I kept it. And it was basically, hey, mums and dads, you're about to learn it's not the school's fault.
Amen. That one. Amen.
We just went through parent-teacher conferences, and they were complaining that it was all they did a lot of video conference for the parent-teacher conferences, and they were complaining that we like going there. No, we don't like going there.
Right.
We unfortunately went because it was the week before. Not unfortunately, it was all good. We went the week before all the virus madness started, and it was a good excuse for me to take a day off of work to go to open school. But it was all good. So, Jason, I have a couple of questions, and the first one I'm going to ask, if you've heard this before, I apologize before I even ask. But when you were growing up, when you first started bowling, did you ever at any time bowl with one hand, or were you always a two-handed bowler?
Yeah, no, always a two-handed player. So I started really young. I was 18 months old when I was first rolling the ball down the lane, and Mum and Dad actually built the bowling center just a couple of weeks after I was born. So and they had never rolled the ball in their life. They were not bowlers. This wasn't a passion of theirs that they were passing down to me. This was a business idea for them. So as I was growing up, mum and dad didn't coach me. They didn't know how to coach. They didn't really know the rules of the game in terms of, the proper technique as it was back then. So they would just see this little boy who was really happy bowling, with two hands. I was out of their hair while they worked, long hours and really hard to make a successful business. And before they knew it, I basically decided this is how I was going to play the game of bowling. So it was something that, looking back, I must have had hundreds of people over the course of my life tell me to convert. Sure. But I just loved the way that I did it. I was doing it really well, so I didn't really see a need to change. And to be really honest, I come from a really small country town. I mean, there was no way to know that this was what I would want to do for a living. This was what I was going to be able to do for a living, and to have as much success as I have had. It was never planned. This was just something that it just happened this way. And looking back at it all, every decision or every time I was stubborn when someone older than me or someone, who had, I don't know, some kind of respectability in the world of bowling told me to change, I would just shake my head and say, no, I'm good, thanks.
Yeah, no, that's probably a good idea that you did that, because it turned out great for you. On that note, my next question is kind of a two-parter. When you first started to watch bowling, who were some of the actual pro bowlers at that time that kind of left an impression on you and maybe made a little bit of an impact? And by the same token, did any of those pros at any time ever travel down to the land down under and make a appearance?
Yeah, so maybe something that a lot of people don't know, but the PBA was not shown on Australian TV through my all the way through to my late teenage years. I didn't even know it existed until we had some Americans that moved to my town, Orange, and the father was in the mining game. So he would come out here and he would work the mine, and then his visa ran out. So they went back to America and they would send us tapes sporadically of the PBA tour. And that was the very first time that I was aware that there was a professional tour. So the very first tape I ever saw, I saw Norm Duke curving the whole lane with a purple beast. And it was the first time in my life that I wanted to buy something because someone else was doing it. Like, it was the very first time that I actually said, because normally people are trying to convince me to change and I would just be stubborn and do my own thing. And it felt like the first time I ever wanted to replicate someone else. So I've told Norm that story a few times, and, usually he gets a little blushed and, and this is like my childhood hero. So once I saw Norm bowl a bowling ball, I fell in love with Norm. I thought he was an amazing competitor, very, very entertaining to watch. And he was the first guy that I saw that could curve the whole lane like I did. Because where I grew up, everyone bowled down and in. It was up second arrow. It was low rev rates. So to see him do that, I'm like, wow, this is the guy that I want to emulate. This is him. So it's been quite surreal to actually to bowl against him and lose to him and beat him, and it's kind of a mixed bag of emotions when you're bowling against the guy that you just fell in love with as a little kid, and now here you are. He's kicking your butt in the lanes. You don't know if you're happy or if you're sad.
Yeah. Wow, that's a good answer. Norm has the ability. He could play. He could hook that whole lane. As you know, he could play right up 5. He could play between the gutter and 5. He's so versatile. He's very, very. You happened to, I guess, catch him on that day where he was, in fact, hooking the whole lane. So that actually helps too. So the other thing is, I wanted to ask on a personal note, but related to bowling. Last week on our first show, we had your buddy Billy on the show, O'Neill. And Billy said that you're his best friend on tour. So my question is, and the bowlers here all want to know, how does a guy from Orange, New South Wales hook up and become best friends with a kid from Pennsylvania? How does that happen?
Yeah, well, we'll have to go back in time a little bit, but I was traveling. I think the very first time we met was there was a tournament in South Korea, and I had arrived. The buddy that I was traveling with from Australia ended up pulling out at the last minute, so I kind of arrived there on my own, and the hotel that we had kind of like a really nice little bar area where, all the players ended up hanging out at the end of the day. So I arrived. I saw a couple of young guys that looked around about the same age as me. There was Bill O'Neill, Mike Fagan, and I went over to them and said, hey, do you guys mind if I join you? Or I'm sure it's something along those lines. And from that moment, it was really obvious that between Mike and Bill that we had a lot of things in common. We had very similar senses of humor, and we all were really good at the game of bowling. So talking bowling with them was entertaining and informative. So we had a lot of things that kind of just clicked right off the bat. When I went to the Pro Tour, we had been friends since then, and we'd seen each other around the world. But then I decided to bowl on tour, and it was, week in, week out, traveling across the US. So to make things cheaper for us all, it made sense if the three of us would travel together. So since 08, 09, between Fagan and William, and occasionally here and there, we have other of our really close friends kind of jump in, PJ Haggerty, Tony Lacaz, even some of the internationals might join us, Martin Laursen, Andres Gomez. So over those years, we just realized, hey, we travel really well together. So we continue to do that. And when you're spending a lot of time with someone, you get to learn a lot about them. You get to know, what makes them happy, what doesn't. We have a lot of similar interests. Family is a big deal for us. So we talk about our families a lot while we're on the road. And honestly, I wouldn't want to travel with anyone else out there as much as I do. He's a great guy, really easy to travel with, and he's a great bowler. So it really helps when, you want to talk about bowling, you can listen to someone that knows stuff that you don't, and you can bounce ideas off each other. It's really helpful.
Nice.
You also know what makes them tick.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you spend enough time with the person.
Yeah, there are a few things. Over the course of the years, you try to steer away from them unless you're really trying to bug him. But I think the funniest part about it is every time I go to the US, there's a new word that I accidentally say that he has no idea what I'm talking about with the Australian lingo. So his vocabulary is growing. The Australian vocabulary is growing every single time we meet each other.
But that's so on that. That's like those Joe, those orange things that they use on construction sites.
Yeah, the cones.
The what? No, Jay, what do you call those? The orange things on construction sites.
Cones.
Yeah, we call them witches' hats.
What?
Witches' hats. Well, it makes sense. It makes sense, but they're not putting it on their head. But still,
well, to be fair, your traffic cones, the ones that are on the road are a little larger than the ones that we have. So the ones that we have are your witches' hats, your pointy tip with a little bottom on a little base to the bottom, and they look like witches' hats. It makes perfect sense.
I like how he struggles to say cone.
Yeah. It's a cone. It's just a cone. But listen, I mean, that's what we call it up here. But you guys down under, if witch's hat works, then touche. That's good.
Yeah.
So I just had somebody share something very interesting that can only happen on social media. I have a Chris Papandrea, a Dominic Papandrea, a Vinny Papandrea, and they say they're your cousins.
Yeah. So my heritage is Australian. Hi to all the Papandreas out there. So I have Italian heritage. My mother's side is Sicilian, and my father's side is from Napoli. And when the great-grandfathers and grandmothers decided to migrate from Italy, there were two ways that they went. They could have gone to the east coast of the US, and some of them went to Australia. So my side of that family went to Australia, and some of it went to the East Coast. And I was actually unaware of my heritage with family around the world and where they'd traveled to until, I got like that same message. It was an inbox, I think, a long, long time ago, and it was, hey, this might sound really weird, but so every time I'm in the northeast of the US, in particular Carolina Lanes, they're in New Brunswick. They always come out and support me. They're always really, they follow me on social media. We communicate as much as we can, and it's awesome to have a little family in the US.
Now, there are some Papadreas here in Staten Island, in the New York City area. I wonder if they're all in that family.
Yeah, there are some Staten Island.
That's interesting.
Chris shares a story that he says after World War II, when all of Italy came to America, you were only allowed to bring one family member, but Australia allowed as many as you want.
Wow.
My grandfather was one of 12 and took most of the family to Australia.
Wow.
Well, there you go. He knows more about our family lineage than I do.
And you learned that right here, live from Rams.
Live from Rams.
But Jason, you could have wound up in Brooklyn. You could have grown up in my neighborhood. You could have been a Brooklyn guy.
Yeah, and you know what? I probably wouldn't have been a two-handed bowler, and we wouldn't be having this conversation because I would have been something completely different.
You're right about that. Speaking about our friends at what was the former Carolina Lanes, you and I actually met. You met myself and a bunch of my buddies at one of the Pro-Ams in 2013. And we had about 10 of us. And when it was, how you guys bowled like half of the game on like one pair, and then you would move over and go to another pair. Well, because we're New Yorkers and Staten Islanders, some of us come from Brooklyn and now we're Staten Islanders, we like to put a little side action on when we bowl. And you were bowling on the pair next to us, and you were kind of watching and you were listening to us, and we were bowling for $10 a guy. And when you came over to bowl your half a game with us, you took your ball, you put it down, and you said, "Cheers, mates. Is it all right if I get in your little betting game?" And we said, "Jason, unless you want to get hurt, you probably don't want to get into our betting game because you're way too good for us." So I don't know whether you remember that or not, but that was at Carolina Lane.
Listen, I won't deny that that's probably something I would have said. It sounds exactly it would have been with an Australian accent, not an English accent.
I can't help it.
But I promise you, it was something that I would have done. And you know what? I won't tell you you're embellishing to ruin a good story. I'll say that's exactly how it went down, and then I'll even make it better. You took all of my money. All right, there you go.
No, we wouldn't let you in because we said you're too good.
He's changing the story.
Oh, he's saying, okay. Well, thank you, Jason. Thank you.
Hey, so we've got one of our youth bowlers. We're gonna bring Joseph in. It's one of our youth bowlers. We had asked our folks to go onto our page and ask some questions if they had any questions. And so Joseph, one of our all-stars, also a two-handed who I was sharing with you before, learned from videos. Joseph's got a question. He's got a couple of questions for you. What's going on, Joseph?
Hey guys, do you mind if I call by first name, Jason?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're not in detention, so you don't have to call him Mr. Belmonte.
Yeah, exactly.
That is right. Would you recommend bowling as a career? PBA Tour, I know you've been successful with it. Would you recommend it for someone else? Do you think there's money in it that I could, make a living out of without having to win maybe every tournament?
Sure. Yeah. So that's the big, that's the scales of justice here, right? Is do you do something you love that doesn't pay you as much money as something else, or do you try to chase it for the money? Now, here's what I will tell you. With Bolaro coming in as the new owners of the PBA, they seem very, very determined to increase the prize funds. And here is an example. So the World Championship that just happened, for no reason other than they wanted to, they added another $100,000 into the prize fund of the TV show for the World Championship. So when I won, that was $150,000 in one game. Okay, so that's a lot of money, and that's one event. We play, 16 or 20 events throughout the year, depending on how many you can get to. So not all of them are worth that much money, but you know what? If you're pretty good, you can make a really good living. But here is what I would tell you, and this goes for not just bowling, but anything else that you want to do in your life, okay? If money is your sole motivator, you will never get enough of it. You will never get enough money. And you will always be miserable because you want more. But if you do something that you have an internal passion for, something that you truly love, then doing that will give you a lot more happiness. It will just give you a more feeling of being complete, that you're not looking for the next, over the fence, looking for the grass is greener type analogy. It's so, for me, whether bowling was paying me $150,000 for a win or not, I would do this. I would bowl because it's in me. I love it. I can't think of anything else I want to do. This COVID-19 nonsense, which has stopped me from doing it, it is making me miserable. I want to just bowl, and that to me, it has nothing to do with the financial side. You have to be aware of it. Let's not be silly. You have to earn money, you have to pay bills, and you have to feed yourself. But I've always said, if it's purely about dollars and cents, and it doesn't matter what you're doing, you'll never get enough of it. You'll just want more and more and more, and then you'll get greedy. Then you'll lose your family and friends, and then you'll be alone, and you'll die unhappy. That's how it goes.
Words of wisdom. That's pearls of wisdom right there. Pearls of wisdom. Thank you.
This is Late Night with Jason.
I hope that answered your question, Yusuf.
Yeah, that was excellent. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Just one more, if you don't mind.
Sure.
While we're sitting home during this pandemic and all of this world crisis thing going on, I know that nobody can get on the lanes and practice really. I've spent my time watching a lot of videos, watching some videos of you, watching videos of all different types of tournaments, watching bowlers. What drills or tips do you recommend for any bowler, two-handed, one-handed, anything, while they're sitting home? What do you recommend they do in their free time?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question, Yusuf, because it all depends on, one, your level of skill, right, where you're at already. Two, what you have access to. I mean, like, there are some people that have access to, a lot of room in their house, so they can afford to, kind of create miniature bowling lane setups where they can do a 5-step approach or a 4-step approach. Others are a little bit more confined. It can be really difficult. The one thing that I would say, and you're already starting to do it, is no matter how big of area that you live in, learning knowledge about the game is, you can do that in the size of my study, right? Like, you don't need a lot of room to get online, to read about bowling, to understand cores, weight blocks, cover stocks, drillings, differentials, RGs. What does that all mean? And a lot of us don't know anything about it. They know this ball hooks more than that ball, but they don't really understand or know why. So I would say utilize this time when you can't be physically working on your physical game to learn about the game, understand oils and oil patterns. There's so many videos, whether it be USB-C content, PBA content. I'm sponsored by Storm, so Storm have like a mountain of content on their YouTube channels and websites explaining what their bowling balls are designed to do and why. So that way, when you do come back and you look at your arsenal, it'll look way clearer to you. Like, oh, I understand now why I should be using a cleaner cover right now on the lanes, because I've learnt that. So that's where I would probably tell people to go, is broaden your horizons with your knowledge. So when you come back, you're going to make better decisions with the equipment that you already have.
Great advice. That's great
Very
advice.
sound advice. Very nice. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yusuf.
you're welcome, Yusuf.
Yusuf, thanks for joining us tonight, and you got your questions in there. Do you have anything else to ask Jason while we have you?
No, that's all. Just thank you, Jason, for everything you've done for two-handers and bowling in general, and keep up the good work, I guess.
Now, you're a good man, Yusuf. I hope we cross paths one day when neither of us have the coronavirus.
Hopefully. All right, guys.
Thanks, Yusuf.
See you, Yusuf.
We'll see you on the lane
I
soon.
hope to see you soon.
Hopefully.
That was
awesome.
really good.
That's
Really
awesome.
good. Yep.
We have any other questions?
Yeah, there's a couple. There's a couple
coming in, yeah.
There's
I don't have
few
my glasses,
questions
I
coming
can't
in.
see.
There's one question that I can't read, so I'm going to get up there and go check it out. So we had a viewer ask us if you had ever, because of your success here on the PBA Tour and what's happening here in the U.S., would you consider moving here?
Oh, Frank, that's a good question. And okay, give me a percentage of honesty you want here.
100%.
100%.
Wow, you want 100% honesty?
Hey, so I will tell you. So yesterday we had Kelly on with us, and Kelly was the first person on this show to drop a curse word, I should say. And I would be the first one too. So we're all about open, honest, and being there open with us. So yeah, go ahead, tell us. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I say this, with true sincerity, and it's not to, do not want to upset anybody, but I live in the most beautiful country in the world, and we have a lot of luxuries here that the US doesn't have. For example, if one of my family members were to fall ill due to the coronavirus, then I know that my country will look after that my family member, and it won't cost me a penny. I know that if I'm away overseas and something happens to me and I need to come home for medical attention, it doesn't cost me anything. The flight home doesn't cost me anything. I feel a lot safer here in my home country. So when you ask, should I move to the US, I'm also uprooting 3 children and a wife from a place that I feel really safe and comfortable with, knowing that my country looks after them when maybe I can't. And it's a very difficult thing to do. So other than the ease of distance, so traveling to tournaments would be a lot easier. All of the downside of taking my family away from their home, from their friends, from my extended family, I don't think it weighs up nearly as much. Now, if I didn't have children and it was just Kimberly and I, that would probably be a decision that would be easier to make. But having children, I couldn't think of a place I'd rather bring them up than my home country.
That's a great answer.
That's a great answer.
Great answer.
I would tell you, we live in the greatest city in the world. So
Yes, right.
here in New York.
Yep. And there's one more thing too, Jason, that if you did ever decide that you were going to uproot and you were going to move here, you would have to call them cones. So,
yeah, well, no one wouldn't understand me. I'd be like, yo, watch out for those witches' hats. And people and I'd just make a mess trying to tell people to dodge the witches' hats. Yeah, it wouldn't work.
The apocalypse was happening.
Yep.
I had a comment that I couldn't read, so I had pulled it up. And it's perfect. It fits right in the theme. So Yusuf's coach had wrote in, and Timmy just wanted to say thank you. I have to read this because, of course, it's Timmy McAuliffe, and he put this into words.
Our friend
he wanted to take an opportunity to say thank you for being a fantastic role model for the young bowling community around the world. Your attitude and sportsmanship are a breath of fresh air during these times of deflating footballs and Houston Astro hitters. You're a tremendous champion, and I'm proud to be your fan.
Wow.
Oh, that's very kind. Yeah, when you hear things like that, it makes you feel really good inside, because as much as I love to bowl on a selfish note, that I love to compete and to win, and to do something I love, at the end of the day, I love the sport of bowling probably more so than me doing it. So, my goal has always been, how do I make it better? And whether it be doing live streams with you guys or my own social media content or appearances at certain places, I always have in mind, whatever you're going to do today, it's got to make the sport better. I don't care what it is. It can be crazy, like throwing a bowling ball out of a NASCAR, or it can be, rolling bowling balls in skate parks. But whatever it is that you're going to do, you've got to make sure it's for the betterment of the game. And if I can manage to do that, then I've achieved. I have a visitor here.
Hey.
This is my youngest daughter, Sylvie. Say hi, Sylvie.
Sylvie.
How are you?
She's beautiful.
You may remember her from such shows as the World Championship TV show.
Yes, indeed.
World famous.
Yep, definitely.
She loves her daddy. Does she love Mr. B or Mr. Belmonte?
Do you love Daddy the school teacher or Daddy the daddy?
Daddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was pretty tough on her this morning on PE with the boxing gloves. I was making her work hard.
And I love the boxing.
Oh, she loved the boxing. That's good.
I love
That's great.
and
I
the,
like stretching as boy.
She didn't like the stretching. That was boring. She
I
said,
don't like that either.
so to yoga might be a little bit easier. No, we're not using the stretch. We're not using the rubbers and
Yeah.
stretching.
The rubber bands. Yeah.
You know, this has been the theme this week with kids, and we absolutely love it. So it's cool. It shows Daddy. You know, most people just look at Jason Belmonte. They look at this professional bowler. They look at this guy. Oh my God, I can't go near them. And we have such access, even on-site at events and programs.
Yeah.
It's great to have the access to our athletes. But you're real people. We're real people. At the end of the day, we go home. We have a family and children, and it's awesome. It's been awesome following you and watching you with your kids, and that journey. I'm sure is a fun time, and we understand why you wouldn't leave them.
Yes, for sure.
I appreciate it, guys. I really do. Yep. I'm a very lucky guy, so I'm well aware of it, and I don't try to take it for granted any day that I open my eyes and I'm awake. So, thanks for having me.
Oh no, we appreciate it. Hey, there are a couple of other questions here. There's a common question. Your favorite bowling ball in your arsenal?
Ooh, well, I get asked this a lot, and people, I mean, they don't like the answer because they're expecting something else. But the very first bowling ball that I ever had my logo on was a plastic spare ball, and since that day, I bowl with it everywhere. And to be fair, that spare ball has got me out of a lot of trouble. I've made some ridiculous splits in my times with those bowling balls in very clutch moments to win championships or to advance to the next round. So my favorite ball in my arsenal is my clear Belmonte spare ball.
Nice. Very nice.
Your greatest moment?
Ooh, on the lanes, yeah? You're talking about?
I mean, if it wasn't that, your children should be the first thing. So we're not going to ask you that one. So no, on the lanes, your greatest moment.
Oh wow. I think I can't give you just one, so I'll give you a couple. The very first time I ever won a title on tour was a really, really big moment for me. This was at a time when a lot of fans were pretty negative towards myself, and I had competitors that were really negative towards me, and a lot of people were assuming I was a gimmick or a flash in the pan, and that the PBA with two-handed bowling won't survive, and all these things. So when I won, that really solidified me as a champion, and it proved to me that I could do it. Are you okay there?
Yes.
And the second moment would probably be when I won the World Cup for Australia in South Africa. My parents don't really get a chance to come and watch me bowl very much, and this time my dad traveled with me and I was able to win the World Cup in front of him. And then I think, breaking the record for 11 major championships, to have my name, that and equaling Mike Alby's record of the Super Slam. Those two moments are pretty close, because those are two things I never thought, was going to happen. So to have them, in my trophy case is a pretty amazing feeling.
So you mentioned the negativity at the beginning when you came out, that maybe you were a gimmick or, I'm sure you heard a lot of nonsense. How do you think you turned that around, or did people just come to the realization to respect your talent?
That's a really good question. I think the first thing I did was I stopped focusing on it so much. I mean, I was only young and I really wasn't mature, and I didn't really know how to handle things that were thrown at me. And as you get older, you learn and you have a better understanding on why things are the way that they are. So first out, I'm reading everything. I'm listening to everything. And it was really difficult. And it makes you depressed. And it really makes it hard to feel happy when you're bowling and you're looking around and you're like, hey, I know that guy really doesn't like me. I know that guy thinks I'm cheating. And that was really difficult. So the first thing I did was I started to focus on the positive, on people who were supporting me, my family and friends who love me, the fans who would write nice things. And I really started to say, why am I spending energy on the people that don't support me? I should be spending all of my energy on the people who do. So allowing my fans and interacting with the ones who truly were fans of me made me happier. So that allowed me to bowl better. And as soon as I started bowling better, I think a lot of people started to realize, hold on a second, this guy might be legitimately just a good player. And I've always wanted to be a bowler, not a two-handed bowler. I don't look at other players and compare them in categories. Like I've always hated, I've always thought you're the best two-handed bowler. Like, no, I don't want to be the best two-handed bowler. I want to be the best bowler. I don't care if you're left-handed, right-handed, one-handed, two-handed. I don't care. I just want to be the best of all categories and throw us all into one. So that, I think, was a motivation for me, that as soon as people were, even when they were supporting me, I think you're a great two-handed player, it would motivate me to be like, I want him to say, you're just a great player. And if I can do that, then my success should carry forth into that, to changing that discussion.
Yeah, well, I think you've quelled all those rumors, and you are the best bowler. You are.
Yep.
Certainly are.
Yep.
Right now. Tomorrow, who knows? So, I'm always making sure I'm working towards, pushing myself.
It's great. You have to live in the moment. So, and that's exactly what you are doing. So, yes.
And it's being real and understanding it. So before we got on, we were talking a little bit about this, and you were talking about how, that's now, but what's next, right? So not just for you, somebody's going to come along and get. Jay, I don't know if anybody's going to do what you've done. It's incredible, and you've got so much more time and so much more to happen.
Yeah.
But there are going to be these young guys that are coming through that are going to get close. So it'll be awesome to watch and see how that happens. And you should be proud, because I think you're help setting the next generation up for that. So that's cool.
Yeah, well, look, I think anytime a record is broken that's long-standing, the person who set it probably, has an expectation at some point this will be broken. So I have an expectation that any goal that I've left behind, any record that I have set, I have an expectation there will be someone to come along and beat it. And then I think that person will have another expectation that someone will come along and beat them. And I think that's just sports in general. I really don't know, how many records will never be broken. I don't know. I think every record at some point will. So what I'm seeing today is, with the advantages of, Yusuf is a perfect example, who we had on earlier. He's researching bowling using the internet. Now, if coronavirus had have struck while I was his age, then there was nothing I could do to advance myself in bowling. I would be stuck at home, playing outside, annoying my parents. Where now he has the ability to go to stormbowling.com and research cover stocks and weight blocks. He can go to YouTube and type in Jason Belmonte and see all of my matches and learn from them, or whoever else he wants to. So that's why I believe the generations of bowling are getting better. We're getting smarter. We're becoming more versatile, because we have access to watching people who are versatile. So we want to be versatile because we see these other amazing bowlers do it. So I'm really excited to see this, this next gen of bowler come through, guys like Yusuf and others that are his age, because we're in for a real treat, I think.
So all records are meant to be broken. Who do you? Walter Ray has got his eyes on you now that he's trying the two-handed thing. He's continuing to challenge himself. You have your eyes on the GOAT. Are you going after what he's done? What do you have your eyes set on? What's the record? What do you want? What do you want to accomplish through this career?
Yeah, I've been very vocal and quite outspoken about the term GOAT, and for a really, really long time, I think we need to invent a different acronym, because I don't think you can ever have a greatest of all time. I think it's very unfair to compare players in different eras and different technology eras. And, if we could go back in time and I could bowl against Earl in his heyday and then bring him forward in time and have him bowl against me, and the same thing with Walter. I mean, what we see from Walter today isn't the same Walter in the 90s where, he was winning championship after championship. So, I hope to leave a legacy that allows me to be in the conversation of the greatest of this era. And I'm going to continue to push that. In terms of goals, no, I don't really care about reaching, how many titles Walter has. My goals are probably more focused around the major championships for a couple of reasons. One, I don't think I'll be on the tour for as long as Walter has been to amass, as many as he has. So unless I catch a real fire and start winning, 8 or 9 a season, I don't think I'm going to get there, and I'm okay with that. So I'll focus more on the major championships, and when my time comes to retire from full-time competition, I'll probably always want to compete at the US Open and the Masters, and maybe the Players Championship, but I will eventually see. I'm happy with wherever I am. My children will tell me when it's time. I think I'll know when they're sad, too sad for me to come back.
That's great. That's a great answer.
Yeah, that's a very good answer.
Jason, thank you so much for popping in and joining us this evening. We really do appreciate it.
Or this morning.
Or this morning. Yeah, we do appreciate it.
Jason, as a coach, I just wanted to say what a positive influence you've been to those of us who have to coach two-handers. It's been a struggle for a long time, and many coaches spent a lot of time, as you said, trying to convince kids, oh no, you have to put your hand in the ball, you have to throw with one hand. But anytime I see a little kid throwing a two-hand, I say, YouTube, I want you to go watch Jason Belmonte. Yeah. And it gives them a role model, something for them to aspire to. So as a coach, I have to say thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. And it's the message I tell everyone I meet. I mean, you look at some of the greatest who have ever walked the lanes, their styles are unique. Walter Ray, I don't know if you would ever teach Walter Ray's swing. Pete Weber back in the day had an incredibly high backswing. These were things that we weren't teaching, and then over time, you realize that uniqueness is what separates them. So when I do see a player with a very unique part of their game, I try to mold the rest of it around that uniqueness, because that's what's going to separate them from the crowd and what's going to give them an edge. Conforming everyone to a standard style, all you're doing is making them be who they're not, bowl in the way that they aren't. Don't get me wrong. If you've got a really awful balance position, you can't claim that's my thing. Bad balance, that's what separates me from the crowd. You've got to find that uniqueness within a game that you're like, hold on, if I work on that could be something that really elevates this player into their own category. And I'm now just going to build around that uniqueness to help them. So, whether it be two-handed, one-handed, it doesn't matter. If you see that uniqueness, don't discourage it, promote it, encourage it, and tell them to keep working on it. And then you as a coach need to be smart enough, patient enough to build the walls around it.
That's great.
Preach it. Well, thank you so much, Jay. We know you're going to go back to PE class and what else it might be, the dean of the school.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got my detention slips ready to go. So it's hard to give my youngest one a detention. You saw how cute she is, right? It's hard to give her. But I'll find a way. Don't worry. I'll find a way to give her one.
Well, thank you, Jason.
Thank you, Jason. Hey, go enjoy the rest of your day. We certainly appreciate it again. And we'll see you soon.
Peace.
Thank you.
Bye, USA.
Thank you. It was
Wow.
great.
Jason Belmonte, everyone.
He was great.
Very good.
I guess I have to work on my Australian accent. He wasn't impressed, but I'm sorry. I tried.
You were a little English there.
Yeah,
You
it's my
tried.
Brooklyn in me. I can't help it. You can't take the boy out of Brooklyn. Come on.
You gave it a shot.
Yeah,
You
you
gave it a
take the
shot.
Brooklyn out of the boy. I know. I tried.
That's right. Awesome stuff. And there are some other questions in there, and we'll shoot them over to him. I'm sure he'll be happy to answer them.
Yeah.
We appreciate you spending the last hour with us, and of course you weren't here for us; you were here for Jason. So we appreciate you coming in. And this is what this was about. This was about providing that everyday outlet to get away and sit with us in the bowling center. Just stop watching the news and just be entertained.
Yeah.
And we're glad that we can deliver the content to you. Somebody like Jason, who didn't hesitate. Jason says, absolutely, let me know when and where, and I'll be there. So
He was even early tonight, Frank, right?
Yeah,
he
was
got
here.
on earlier than any
Yep.
of our other guests.
Yep.
He was ready to go early.
he
Yeah.
was. So thank you again, Jason. Hey, this is episode 9, and so 10 is tomorrow. We're going to keep going. Naz, as we say, Joe, daily.
Yeah.
Until
this
further
is
notice.
Until
UFN.
further notice.
UFN, until further notice.
So
UFN.
So tomorrow we're back at our regular time, 2:00. We're going to be checking in on some of our bowlers. A little different, maybe Music Monday. You never know what's going to happen tomorrow. But tomorrow we're going to be checking in with some of our bowlers, seeing what's happening out there, and talking about hopefully getting back onto the lanes much sooner.
Yeah. We'll see how they're dealing with their time at home.
Yeah, it's been interesting.
What else we got this week, Naz?
It's been interesting.
We have a financial advisor for Sermonac Wealth Management. Dennis Sermonac is going to be joining us. So for those of you who may be worried about whether you should cash out all of your retirement,
Oh boy.
he's going to tell you to just come, and you're in for the long ride.
401k.
Just ride it out.
Yep.
And he's going to give you some great advice on and where there might be buying opportunities too.
He won't give it all away, but he's
not all of it. Some you're going to
Well,
have to, pay for.
Yeah.
But he's great, and you'll get a lot of knowledge from him too.
Very good.
Yeah, and the rest of the week we have Frank DeSocio is going to join us, the executive director of BPAA, talking about what's happening in our industry. We are starting another segment. We've got a weekly check-in with Pam Silvestri, so she's going to be back on I believe it's Thursday. So every Thursday until further notice, Pam's going to pop in and join us and talk about the food scene and what's happening out there. Every day it's changing.
That's great.
Who's changing their hours of operation? Who may have not been able to make it work? Who's
Correct.
delivering takeout? So
Right.
we'll talk to Pam.
Yep.
And that PWBA champion Stephanie Johnson's going to
Stephanie
join us,
Johnson
yes.
is joining us this week.
Another female champion bowler.
who has worked her way through the ranks.
Mhm.
She competed in junior gold in its early days, college, Team USA,
Yep.
PWBA champion, which was awesome to watch in her home bowling
Oh,
center
sure, yeah.
last
Yeah.
season. So
Yep.
Stephanie's going to be here with us.
Yep.
Joe is going to be back. We've lost Joe B for now, but we know Joe B, you're watching. We miss you.
He's there in spirit. He's right here. I got you, Joe B. I got you, buddy.
We'll get
We
Joe-
got to find a little Joby bobblehead.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
we're
he's
gonna have to
healthy.
do that.
He just couldn't make it tonight.
Yeah.
So he's gonna.
I
We'll get him
think
to
he's
call in.
he's sorting his sock drawer.
He
Yes,
might be
he
with,
is.
with Kevin Rourke.
With Kevin Rourke,
Yes,
yes.
sorting
Yes.
the sock drawer.
Yes.
Sorting his sock drawer.
Yes, indeed. That's what I heard.
Well, again, another great day here at Rabs. We miss you.
Definitely.
We hope you miss us. We'll say it again. You might not miss us now that you get to see and hear us every day.
Yeah.
So please like and share. If you're watching this on YouTube, Naz, what do we tell them? Subscribe. Follow.
Subscribe.
Press the we'll figure
Subscribe.
this
Wherever it
out.
is, right? Yeah, we'll figure out where it is.
Thank you,
eventually.
Jason. And Naz, that was what?
That was awesome.
That really was awesome. Yeah, that was awesome. And for our friends of the Monday Night Draft League, I want to let everybody know you can rest easy, sleep on 10 pillows tonight. Studio 710 back there is doing just fine. It's waiting for us to get back. It's waiting for all of our league mates to get back. It's waiting for all the bowling leagues to get back. And I want to let you know that I watched Mass this morning at 9 o'clock on Channel 10. I gave another channel a plug. That's right. And in my prayers, I said, Lord, please end this madness. Please. We want everybody healthy. We want everybody safe. We want everybody with their loved ones to enjoy what life has in store for us all. But what it has in store for all my fellow
Father
bowlers
Joe.
and especially Naz and Frankie, is I can't wait to hug everybody. So we'll see you all out here soon. We're praying. We're praying.
So Father Joe, remind everybody, wash your hands, don't touch your face, keep your distance. We're going to be quarantined for a little bit longer than we might expect it to.
Yeah.
But let's keep everybody in our prayers, and certainly remember to keep those prayers and say thank you to those on the front lines,
Amen.
Doing what they can. So,
Ray, would you like to say something?
Come on, Ray, you're here.
Well, I've been through a lot in my life, and this thing with the lights and stuff like that, it's a little bit crazy right now. But I will just tell you this: I've done a lot of things in my life. I've never been happier than being here and teaching kids how to bowl and running the draft league and stuff like that. I couldn't get any happier than I am right now. So
we're happy to have you. Right?
At my age, being this happy is pretty amazing.
That's it.
Things to be thankful for. And that's what we gotta. That's what we have to focus on.
That's right.
Although our time, as some people would call it, locked up with our families, it's a great time to really spend some family time together that so many of us don't have.
That's
Can I
right.
skip off the set?
you can skip us out of the show.
Let me know when.
Go ahead now.
There he goes.
Skip us out. Are you skipping us out?
Until tomorrow. Tomorrow, 2:00, we'll see you here. Thanks
See you
for
all.
joining us.
Stay safe. Wash those hands.